Okay. Okay. Good morning. Today you will only need one device. Not one device. Note-taking materials, and that is it. We will not be reviewing one of the 74 principles for leadership. We're going to pick that back up tomorrow. So just note-taking materials, whatever you use that allows you to be able to learn. Today it is a learning live as always. Let's go ahead and take 3 deep breaths in and out on your own. Inhale and exhale. I am Dr. Donna Thomas Rogers, daughter of Leslie Darnell Thomas, granddaughter of Arthur Jethro Evelyn II, and great-granddaughter of Levi Thomas. Welcome to your morning mental workout. Today's topic is figure it out. How do we get here? How do we use our brains? How do we have a brain background? Why do I have a brain t-shirt on? It's because of neurogenesis. Neurogenesis is the creation of new neurons in your amazing brain. From there, you take those neurons and you create new neural pathways, and that process is known as neuroplasticity. You take that and you combine it with the 74 principles of real leadership and the theory of personal accountability, and you get to neuropability. That is the brain's ability to wire itself to unlimited neural pathways so that you can learn how to hold yourself personally accountable day in and day out and access your best day in and day out. Where does this magic happen? It happens in the frontal lobe. We're going to be using the executive function of the brain today, which is commonly referred to as the CEO of the brain. So without further ado, let's use it today. Figure it out Friday. That is what it is. Figure it out Friday. Yesterday we had 3 appointments. It was a very long day. We got home, I want to say 8:30. And so it was well after 10 o'clock before I went to sleep. And I had to put together a TV stand because we had our 3rd appointment was a bed. It just should have been a very simple bed. Normally it takes Nola about 30 minutes to put that bed together. A bed, 2 bookcases, and a credenza. Simple. We thought we'd be in and out maybe 2.5 hours, bada boom, bada bing. No, the bed damn near took both of us out. And it got to the point where it has so many manufacturing defects that I just told Nola, go ahead and start on the bookcases. I will figure this out. That's how we ended up here. And I figured out a short-term solution. She has her grandmother coming. She's only going to be able to sleep on the bed for about a week. It's sturdy and everything, but it just isn't stable enough for you to use it long-term. A long-term, year, 2 years, you're going to need a new bed. So she's going to have to buy a new bed, but Grandma is coming next week. Grandma is coming next week. Give me one moment. Okay, so her grandmother is coming. And then by the time I got home, I was able to put most of it together. Thank you, Nola. I was able to put most of it together, but then it has the doors with the soft close hinges, and you have to have one on the opposite side because it had 4 different doors with different hinges. So the back part, Nola put those in, and then I still put the hinges in the door. I just couldn't make the adjustments because that's not something that I do. But I did figure the bed out, and then she finished figuring out the credenza slash. They're using it as a television stand, but it's a credenza. Good morning, Regina. So I said, you know what? I'm going to talk about, because today the real leader principle that we're actually on is develop a vision. And I said, no, I'm going to do figure it out because it's good morning, Lola, as well. I'm going to do figure it out because I figured it out, Nola figured it out, and we were able to give the client what they needed. And it was at the end of our day. So we had already started the day with putting up 2 pictures, a mirror, and a television. Then we had to take down some blinds, the big shutter blinds inside of someone's home. So by the time we got to that appointment, barely got a lunch break, we were mentally exhausted. So I was like, yes, figure it out, because that was the message. The message was going to be, when tough times occur, do you have the technical competence to figure it out? Do you have the wherewithal to figure it out? Even to the point where the PA for today and the Real Leader Brain are also about figuring it out. So I filmed all of that, and then I said, okay, let me get back to figuring it out to get my notes done. It took me on a whole nother different path. I literally was like, are you kidding me? So we're going to go over the definition of what does it mean to figure it out? And then we're going to go on a journey of why is it so difficult? And then what is the framework for you to figure it out? And here is the definition. The whole complete definition is figure it out. I'm not breaking it down because the concept needs to go together. So what does figure it out mean? Figure it out means to solve a problem, understand something, or find an answer through reasoning, effort, or trial and error. To solve a problem, understand something, or find an answer through reasoning, effort, or trial and error. It implies taking initiative to work through a challenge independently or with available resources. It implies taking initiative to work through a challenge independently or with available resources. And then finally, and this is the part that went wow, whoa, woo for me, was finding a solution on your own. Finding a solution on your own. When you think about figuring it out, finding a solution on your own. Be technically competent is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. And in order for you to increase your technical competence, you have to find solutions on your own. I could not read. My bachelor's degree is in public law and government. That means I took a lot of political science classes and criminal justice classes. And if you took government in high school, you know, if you took history of any kind, you take the constitutional history. Anyway, it is reading and reading and reading and reading and reading. And guess who couldn't read at that level when they got to college? I was 9 minutes a page reading those doggone books, those textbooks with a dictionary right there with me. And I could never sell my books back because I had to write and highlight and all kinds of things to try to figure out what the hell was on those pages. I had to figure it out. Now I can read a lot. Back then, not so much. Standardized tests, reading scores were always low. But I had to find my own solution to reading. I had to do that in order for me to become technically competent. With the bed, Nola, she's way more competent than me. I was like, I can figure this part out. You got to go take care of those bookcases because ain't no way in the hell I'm going to be able to put those together. And so I figured out a solution for the bed. She figured out a solution for these very intricate bookcases that did not have to be that complicated, but they were. And then I started putting the credenza together, got to the doors, and was like, yeah, this isn't for me. This is for you. So she figured that out. I figured out the thing that was trying to take her out. And then we both ended up with new levels. She actually knows how to do the door. So that wasn't a thing for her. But I found a better solution for the bed and had her mother lay on the bed because grandma and mom are the same size. I said, you lay on it. And I didn't tell her what was wrong. I was there in case it failed, but it didn't. She was fine. Literally, y'all know I'm a safety advocate. The point is that these are finding your own solutions. So my question to you this morning is, did you know that when you are told to figure it out or you find yourself in a situation where you need to figure it out, did you know that you had to find your own solution? Because I was like, whoa. I mean, I knew when people said, well, you're going to have to figure it out. But to really know that that's in the definition of figure it out. Find your own solution. You find your own solution. So thumbs up, thumbs down, yay, nay. Did you think it was just people saying, you got to figure it out? Or did you actually know that it was part of the solution? That's the question. And I did not get to do my nasal rinse this morning, so I will be sniffing. And I'm not even outside of that. It's hot. No, don't touch that with a 10-foot pole. Yes, I was shocked. And this is how come I didn't get my nasal rinse done and everything else. Because I was on Grok when I got this definition. And then Grok started asking me questions. Well, do you want to know why? And do you know? I'm like, yeah, no, yes, I do. I don't know. I got to go do I need my snack. And I was like, I'll do all of this after the live. So, yeah. No, Regina said, didn't know that was part of the solution. 7 of the times I felt I think you meant several of the times I thought they didn't know. So they just let me out of my own. I'll figure it out. Right. Left you out on your own. No, that is actually part of the definition. That is for you because you need to figure it out. So Yes. So I needed to learn how to read for college. I needed to figure it out because I'm the one that picked that major. And I'm the one who had to write those tests, those papers, and take those blue book exams and all of that. That was on me. So who was I going to go to? What tutor was I going to go to read these damn criminal cases and all of that? That, like, hey, tutor, help me read these books. It's one thing to get study habits, but it's reading. Kevin, you majored in criminal justice, if I'm not mistaken. Like, if you can't read, I mean, you can get some tutoring reading, but you still go and tutoring read. Hooked on phonics ain't gonna help you read doggone criminal justice books from 301, all that other stuff, constitutional law and all that. Hooked on phonics ain't enough phonics in the world for that. Regina said, can you repeat the section after you said implies taking? Yes, it implies taking initiatives to work through a challenge independently or with available resources. It implies taking initiative to work through a challenge independently or with available resources. So in the instance of fixing that manufactured defect, that bed, almost every damn part had a manufactured defect on it, but the slats. So with the available resources that we had to put all those things together because grandma is coming next week. And let me know if you have it, Regina. So finding a solution on your own. So I had the definition, I recorded my PA and my real leader brain, and then I came back. I was like, damn it. Now I gotta ask Grok the rest of these questions. So I did that. And here we are today, right now. So why is it so difficult for people to figure it out? Thank you for letting me know, Regina. Why is it so difficult for people to figure it out? And before I give you the answers, you tell me, why do you think it's so difficult for people to figure it out? Why? Why, Lord? Why? No. Why is it so difficult? See my coffee. Have to have my coffee made by 5. It's 5:17. It's a burning. It's a burning in my heart. Why is it so difficult for people to figure it out? Why is it so difficult for people to figure it out? And the answer shocked me. I clutched my real leader pearls. Nola says because they don't want to think or aren't smart. Nola has a flamethrower out. Because Nola is a Sagittarius, she has about 17 different types of flamethrowers that she can create some heat in the situation. Yeah. And not even with purposeful intent. Just what comes up, comes out. Because they don't want to think or aren't smart. Again, I was like, wow, I'm telling you. I was having a conversation with a college professor yesterday and saying that I like Chat GPT. And she said she's retiring in the end of June. She said she has no issue with it either. She got a bunch of other issues with students, but Chat GPT wasn't one of them. All right. Regina says sometimes it's a puzzle and you might feel confused and frustrated. And there's more coming because it's you don't. I think it's a great, interesting journey with me learning, coming out as a nerd first. You got to come out as a nerd first before you can study the brain. How many interesting things. And 20 years ago, none of this would have been possible. I would have been in the library in the basement somewhere, scrolling through microfiche a lot. Have no skills in that field. That's Lola's response. Yes. And so it is timing, synchronicity. So I was born at the correct time. Because this was completely, Regina says, you don't want to take the time required to go through the process, and it isn't fast. Yes, ma'am. And you stole some of my notes. No, you didn't. Okay. And Mr. Hook, did you have a response? Why is it so difficult? And I initially thought lazy. I have to be honest. Like, people just don't want to figure it out. They just don't want to sit down and get the technical competence to learn what they need to learn. They don't want to figure it out. They want somebody else because they victims. That's what I said. And then I got a different answer. I was like, oh, I was wrong. Okay. Kevin, I didn't see if you, because I don't see your ... or your emoji or anything. Because sometimes you'll have your alerts, your sirens. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and then I will come back with your answer because of the delay. There we go. They stole your answers. Call the popo. Okay, everybody give Kevin his answers back. Okay. Meet him at Starbucks. Y'all can just go to the boba tea. You don't even have to go to Starbucks. You can just go meet him at his boba tea and give him his answers back. Drop him off. If he's not there, give it to the manager and tell him that you took it this morning on the live. All right. So figuring it out. Why is it difficult? Figuring it out, whether it's life, a problem, or a personal goal, can feel like chasing a moving target because people are messy and it makes the world messier. So people, unaccountable people, and all their antics make solving problems and figuring it out harder. The manufacturing defects on that bed, the manual that literally skipped some damn steps and I had to figure it out. The backs on those bookcases, they used the worst things that you could ever use on a back. Don't know why they did it, but they did it. So they made what should have been a simple appointment quite difficult, and we had to figure it out. So here's six reasons why. Number one, our brains. Our brains are wired for survival, not always for clarity. Our brains are wired for survival. That doggone negativity, bias, fight or flight, saber-tooth tiger. So it's not always wired for clarity. So cognitive bias, like confirmation bias and the Dunning-Kruger effect, makes you overcomplicate things. And I think I'm about to sneeze. Give me 1 second. So the Dunning-Kruger effect and cognitive bias make it so we overcomplicate things. And what are cognitive bias? Those are mental blind spots that make you think or act irrationally. Mental blind spots. No, I got this. No, I got it. Don't worry about it. And then the Dunning-Kruger effect, as we went over previously, maybe about a couple of weeks ago, is overestimating your abilities. So you are overestimating your abilities. And then just for review, confirmation bias is that you will only seek out information and everything that already confirms your existing beliefs. You can't figure it out if you already think you got skills and they multiplying. And you can't figure it out if you're like, yeah, this is just something that I just don't have to contend with. If I did not address my mental block of not being able to read, my blind spot, I would just say that the professors don't like me. You know what I'm saying? They discriminate because I'm African American and they're not. No, none of that is true. And then if you think your skills are at a higher level than they actually are, then you're not going to try to figure it out. You're going to say something is wrong with this situation. I am the illustrious Dr. Donna. Absolutely, I am perfect beyond measure. Clearly, this can't be me and my skills. I doth think not. Number two, add to that the constant noise of information, feelings, and society's pressure. And it's no wonder people struggle to cut through the brain fog. So you got all this noise, all this going on. You can't figure things out. It's noisy as hell. Just go walk in New York during any time. Honestly, truly, it's people everywhere. Get on the subway. Just walk down the street. Go to Times Square. People are all over the place. And now you're trying to figure things out. You're not going to be able to solve no problem. Go on the Las Vegas Strip in peak seasons of travel. you're not going to figure it out. But according to people now, tourism is expensive as hell. So they have the group that used to come here and do a free for all can't. In theory, when they have conventions and everything else, it's busy as hell. You're not going to be able to figure things out. So that constant noise, high state of emotion, that hijacked amygdala, limbic system on weak, and now you're trying to figure something out. It's going to be damn near impossible. That cortisol goes to the frontal lobe. You can't think clearly or see clearly. Number 3, plus everyone's got their own unique baggage, fears, assumptions, blind spots, and that clouds their reasoning. So you throw your shit in there, you throw everybody else's in there, and now how you gonna figure things out? How? It's impossible. It in theory, but can makes the impossible possible. So it becomes very difficult for you to be able to figure things out. Number 4, even when the answers are staring you in your face, you often resist it if it doesn't fit your narrative. If it doesn't fit your narrative, you cannot count, or I can't count, how many times I have had a conversation with somebody, strangers, people I know as clients, all kind of people. I'm literally people on social media, everything else. I'm telling them what the answer is, and they are not listening to me at all because it doesn't match the narrative. I was having a conversation with someone and I was telling them how to get something done, and they were saying that doesn't work for our people because of blah, blah, blah. They never even asked me, why am I saying that? I have these conversations with Nola. She'll just start telling me this, and I'll say, but you didn't ask me why I'm telling you this. I don't do anything without a strategy. So even today, even everything I do is strategic. And if someone is giving you the answer and it doesn't match your narrative, guess what happens? You can't hear it because you wake up with negativity bias all day long. If I think positive, which is one of the 74 principles of real leadership, and I offer you a viable solution, if you're looking for a negative answer, you can't even hear my solution. You will not hear it. If you say, oh, see, the problem is they don't listen to old people. And I say, well, actually, the problem is they don't listen to old fools. So when you have some wisdom to impart upon someone, they will actually listen to wise counsel. No, that ain't it. These youngins just hard-headed. They don't want to hear what you got to say. And I'm like, well, what you're saying is from 1972. It doesn't even apply anymore. It's not old wisdom. It's just old information. That's useless. That's why they're not paying attention to you. But you're not. If your brain is saying young people don't listen to old people no matter what, without saying, what is the old people saying? What are they saying? Because a young fool just grows up to be an old fool. So if you're just an old fool, why would we listen to you? But that doesn't match the narrative. It's easier to say, nope, you're not listening to me because I'm old. Yeah, maybe you just don't have anything to say. Number 5, clarity comes from stepping back, questioning what you think you know, and be okay with uncertainty. The problem with not being able to figure it out is you don't know how long it's going to take you to figure it out. So as Regina said, it's going to take too long. I'm going to just abandon it. I'm not about to try to figure that out. How long? How do I know how long it's going to take for me to figure that out? Who got time to be trying to figure that out? That's going to take too much time. So then you don't figure it out. Then you spend the rest of your life not knowing. If I hadn't taught myself how to read in college, as I mentioned a couple of days ago, I would be over here like, yeah, no, I don't need to read that. I don't have my glasses. I don't have anything. You tell me what it says. And anything associated with high-level reading, as soon as I see it, I would be running like it is the saber-tooth tiger, because for me, it would be. And then number 6, once you understand that it's okay with the uncertainty, you can begin to actually figure it out. You can begin to actually figure it out. So what questions, what are your thoughts, what are your takeaways about these answers that I've now provided for you in regards to why people can't figure it out? For me, I did not associate it with cognitive bias, conformity bias, or the Dunning-Kruger effect at all. I said folks is lazy and they just don't want to do it. I had no idea. I knew it was the brain, but my initial response was, they're just lazy. They figure it out. You can't. It's simple. But if you have your own beliefs, you got mental blocks, and you already think you the shit, you ain't trying to figure it out. Not at all. You're not going to problem solve. You're not going to see. And in order for you to be the best, you're going to do a lot of figuring it out. You're going to have to figure it out a lot for you to be your best. 100%. We were at a client's house yesterday. Her husband is a medically retired officer, MP as well, and they're going glamping this weekend. And I said, ooh, how he doing that? And she said, he gonna do it. And she's now convinced me that I'm gonna go glamping. Not too soon, but I am gonna go glamping because I'm like, I've been out in the field since I was 15 years old, ROTC camps in the summer. Yeah, I don't want to be out there. I'm good. I done had chiggers and all kind of stuff, ticks. I had to peel out my skin and everything. And came across a bobcat in the field, and yeah, I don't really like that. We had poisonous frogs in Korea when we went to the field, but glamping is supposed to be this thing. So I am going to get over my confirmation bias, and I'm gonna go glamping. But who knew? Cognitive bias, the Dunning-Kruger effect, and confirmation bias were the answers. Can y'all type something so I'll know that the chat has not been enabled and I have to go out and come back in? So the question was, what are your thoughts on the reasons why people can't figure it out? So even if I could get a ... Thank you, Regina. It's almost at the right temperature. These 6 makes complete sense. Yes, they do. And you have to be okay with not knowing the uncertainty of it all. Because there was a moment when I want to take that bed and throw it out the new window in the house, but that would have been wrong. I wanted to punch the manufacturer in the face. And that's no bueno either. So understanding, you got to get past all these biases. That's how you get there. Okay, let me finish chewing my almond because I literally couldn't even eat any of my snack getting this information. Kevin, you now have to make a trip to Florida to go give Regina her answers back. Maybe y'all should meet in the middle somewhere. Perhaps meet in Georgia. Somewhere around there. Y'all could do like a hub. When I had Traffic Center, Perry, Georgia, and Orlando plant used to meet in Adel because it was a turning point that you could turn and run in the same day. Do the exchange there. Okay. So here's a framework to figure it out. A framework to figure it out. Number 1, define the problem clearly. Define the problem clearly. And Nola, you did too. Well, I know you all would never want to do this, but perhaps you all should have to come to Las Vegas and get your problems back. Nola, now Regina throwing me under the bus. Yes. Hey, look, it's balanced. Everybody's getting it. That's awesome. Define the problem clearly is number 1. Avoid confirmation bias. Don't assume you already know the problem's cause. So don't do that. Number 1. First thing you want to do is kick confirmation bias out the way. So how you do that is you ask yourself, what am I missing? Soon as it happens, because you're like, yeah, this is the man trying to keep me down, and this is the problem right here. No. Get the confirmation bias out, because confirmation bias has you looking for your own narrative. Max this narrative. So you don't do that. You ask yourself, what am I missing? And that's what happened with the bed. As I watched Nola continue, I was like, okay, you go do something else. Let me go ahead and see what's actually taking place. How can we get this bed functioning for grandma to be able to sleep on it for a week? So you define the problem, avoid confirmation bias, and you ask yourself, what am I missing? Number 2, gather diverse information. And this is where most people fail when it's time to figure it out. That word diverse. Gather diverse information. Soon as diverse shows up, that means you're going to have to get information from outside of your conformity bias, outside of your confirmation bias. You're going to have to stop and go get some diverse information. Why? Because confirmation bias makes you seek only what supports your assumptions. Confirmation bias makes you seek out only what supports your assumption. So you got to get rid of the confirmation bias and go get some diverse information. Broadening your input counters your confirmation bias. So expand your scope, widen your net to understand what are you missing. So you have to ask, what would someone who disagrees with me thinks? What is the opposite? The whole devil's advocate. So look at it from the other person's perspective or the other situation. Or gotta, sometimes you put something together, you got to leave and come back in and look at it from a different angle. Might need to watch a video, might need to turn the manual upside down. but look at it and take on a different perspective instead of just this laser focus. This has to be the problem. This has to be the problem, because you're not actually going to be able to figure it out. Number 3, pause and reflect. Pause and reflect. And in that moment of pausing and reflection, and this isn't part of the notes, but I'm saying this, that will give you time to get out of your hijacked amygdala state. Because once something happens, you're like, ah! Now you're in the limbic system. So that pause and that reflect, just pause. Just sit there, take a couple of deep breaths, eliminate, reduce stress is one of the 74 principles of real leadership, and reflect. And once you get your bearings about you and you get back in your frontal lobe, you ask why. And this is what happens. Rushing leads to snap judgments and skewed by your biases. So as soon as you start rushing, the biases are going to come in. Damn, I know this is what's happening. And you're not going to actually be able to figure it out. So slowing down helps you process objectively. Be objective is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. So when you slow down, you have to start assessing facts. You cannot just say, this is how I feel. You can't do that, because feelings have nothing to do with facts. Facts are how you maintain objectivity, and that's how you actually start to figure things out. So the how, what you're going to do is you're going to take a break to clear your head, as I mentioned. And then this is one of my favorite things to do. If you've listened to anything that I've said long term, what do I say? Use a pros and cons list to assess what's taking place. And if you are a visual person, you can even use a mind map to organize your thoughts. So you're going to get a piece of paper, draw the line down the middle, pros and cons on the left and the right, and see what's actually taking place. And then you're going to ask yourself, am I leaning towards this because it's comfortable or because it's right? So am I saying that this is happening because I'm an African-American woman, and that's right? Or am I leaning towards that because that's the narrative for that particular situation? So let me just, it's because I'm a woman. It's because I'm a woman. It's because I'm old. Automatically you go to that. That is your confirmation bias. That's why it's happening. But it may not be true. So list it. What is actually taking place? Number 4, test the assumptions. Test the assumptions. Now, I guarantee people don't test their assumptions. And I'm going to stop here and ask you, do you test your assumptions? When you're trying to figure something out, do you test your assumptions? Go back to biology and chemistry class in high school or college. Dun, dun. Pour a little air. All the time. Nola says yes. Kevin says all the time. I say I do. Regina, I will sometimes test by asking for other people's point of view. And Lola says yes. So the reason why you test your assumptions is because confirmation bias makes you cling to untested beliefs. It makes you cling to it. This is it. I ain't tested it, but I just know. I just know because I know. Because I know. How do you know? Did you test it? No, I didn't, but I just know. Okay, got it. So challenging them reveals your blind spots. When you start testing assumptions, you can actually see if what you said was true, or if your confirmation bias is actually correct, or if it's not. So how do you test assumptions? Glad you asked, Kevin. You run small experiments. So you try a new approach and observe the results. I mentioned last year, before the last year's lives, last February, March timeframe, everything was 365 days. You was in RL 365, RL Advanced, or RL and Beyond. That's RL Beyond. That's it. That's all you had. 365 days, there were no other options for people. Started understanding where people were and said, okay, let me do the yes and no challenge. Did the yes and no challenge from February. I did tests with just 2 people, and it kind of had some like flashes. So then I opened it up and made it available to people, and the failure rate was 90%. The failure rate of people finishing the challenge. It took one person 120 days to hold themselves personally accountable to just say yes and no for 30 days. All they had to do was say yes to themselves and no to one person every day for 30 days. It was that simple. Because I was like, let me make this as simple as possible. And one person took 120 days to get to 30 consecutive days. Most of the people dropped out, and 10% of the people who took it actually passed it. So for me, that was a high failure rate. And I was like, yeah, the yes and no challenge doesn't work. People's like, it's like, I liked it. I'm like, but you didn't know how many other people was in it. It caused a lot of problems for folks. So try a new approach and observe the results. You want to seek evidence that, yeah, that's why it was terrible. It's like not even, the page is still on the website, but it's private. It was bad. Okay. So seek evidence that, and who knew? I thought it was so simple. All you had to do was tell one person no. Even if you had to go to the Costco and they say, hey, you want some samples? No, thank you. I don't want no samples. People couldn't do it. They couldn't say yes to themselves. I said yes to myself, and here's how I say yes to myself, and here's who I told no. Turn it in by 8 p.m. I thought that was the simplest thing, and I'm like, it couldn't have gone worse. I promise. I could have never predicted that it was going to go that bad. So you want to seek evidence that contradicts your gut instinct. If your gut instinct, and I know your gut brain is sending your head brain 400 messages, but if confirmation bias is in there, is it really your gut or is it really your confirmation bias? So you want to look for that evidence and seek it out to see if it's matching. Is it your gut or your confirmation bias? And then you want to use if-then thinking. If-then thinking. So if this is true, what should happen? If this is true, what should happen? And this is the coolest example that they use in ChatGPT. This wasn't me, but I agree with it. They said, if you think you're bad at public speaking, join Toastmasters to test if it is true or it's just self-doubt. So if you think this is true, go ahead and give it a test. Give it a small little test. I suck. I'm terrible. I'm awful at public speaking. Go to Toastmasters, get your manuals and everything, and start speaking. You can even do table topics, and that'll give you a good way to get it done and test it even before you join. And then is it true, or is it just you think you can't do it? And that will help you out immensely. So test your assumptions. Don't just listen to your gut. In this instance, check to see if it's your confirmation bias. Okay, number 5, embrace uncertainty. And I would like to qualify this by saying embrace change, because embrace change is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. Now, one thing that the brain doesn't like naturally because of negativity bias is uncertainty. If something is uncertain, the amygdala says, we don't know about that. What you doing? That ain't what we normally do. No, that's bad. But sometimes it's a false positive. Sometimes it's not actually a saber-toothed tiger. It's a growth opportunity. But the amygdala's like, change, no. Uncertainty. Are you sure you're gonna? Don't move to another state. Don't move to another country. Don't quit this job. Don't leave this marriage. No, don't get married. Do get married. All of that. It's too much. It's uncertain. We can't predict that outcome. So no. But you have to embrace it. Why? So embrace uncertainty is number 5. Why? Fear of the unknown fuels biases and paralysis. Soon as you say, I'm going to move to the suburbs, in my house, my mother moved to Oakland County. Everybody else, her 3 siblings and my grandfather, after my grandmother passed, but anyway, everybody else lived in Detroit. Oakland County is a county where all the rich folks live. They were so angry at her when she moved from, and Nola's going to say it was a trap house anyway. It didn't matter that it was in Oakland County, but it was in Oakland County. Oh, you didn't move to Oakland County, so you're going to leave your people. You're going to leave everybody. The people was there too. You just going to leave. How you going to leave Detroit? You was born and raised in Detroit. Oh, you just going to go out there and live in Oakland County? Yeah. So it fuels biases automatically. How you going to go over there and live with them people? Just insane. Insane. Don't leave. Don't go nowhere. Stay here with the rest of us. And it makes you feel like you can't go and do anything else. And fear paralyzes you. But you got to embrace that. You got to go ahead and go over 15 Mile and Lasser. You got to go ahead and go to Somerset Mall. You got to go out west where you don't know nobody. You have to be able to do that. And accepting the ambiguity opens you to new possibilities. You can't be an officer. We enlisted in this family, but the officers call all the shots. Why wouldn't you want to be in charge of your own destiny? Why wouldn't you want to do that? Makes no sense. So all of this, the biases, the conformity bias, confirmation bias, I'm going, come back over here with the stuff, Billy, what you doing? But if you're going to figure it out, you got to embrace uncertainty. So how do you do that? Remind yourself, not everything needs an immediate answer. So remind yourself, not everything. In yesterday's instance, we had to get that done because we were tired of third appointment. We got to get home, get dinner, get ready for today, and get ready to finally, take a break after 3 appointments. But sometimes you take a little bit longer. You can take a little bit longer. So if you have the time, take the time. Not everything needs an immediate answer. And then you focus on what you can control. Your next steps, not the entire outcome. Not the entire outcome. I am going to take on neuroscience information from a learned perspective. And so I'm taking my time and I'm exploring all of my options to see what is going to work best for me. There isn't a timeline. I don't have to get this done by May. I just need to look and research to get the best decision that's going to work best for me. So what you can do is practice saying, I don't know yet, and that's okay. I don't know yet, and that's okay. Because another thing that unaccountable people will do to you is when you are in your figuring it out phase, they will hurry up and rush you to get a solution. And then if you hurry up and rush to get a solution and it goes left, they will be sitting right there and tell you, I told you that wasn't going to work. I told you that wasn't going to work. Why do you do that? Really? Okay, got it. Because if I had taken my time and actually developed a strategy, so the unaccountables want you to hurry up and develop a dumbass plan that's not going to work, that has no logic, no reasoning, nothing that you can measure, so they can then tell you, see, that's why you stupid and you should have just kept your ass over here with the rest of us trying to be highfalutin and high and mighty. You're going to go over there and try to learn how to read. Look at you. Okay, number 6, act and iterate. Here's what you're going to do. Why? Act and iterate. You are going to, why? Overthink without action stalls your progress. And small steps build clarity over time. So overthinking, if you sit there for too long, Sergeant Apple used to say, study long, study wrong. Without action. So you're just going to think and think and think and think and never go test those assumptions. It will stall your progress. It will stall your progress. So you're going to act and iterate. You're going to act and then repeat. Act and repeat. Act and repeat. And how will you do this? You will choose low-risk next steps and do it. I started out with the yes and no challenge. The yes and no challenge didn't work, but for the 10% of the people that finished, I realized 30-day challenges are the ramp up. So what I told them last year was, I said, when you're in the military, you don't go straight to your duty station. You have to go to basic training. And in order to get in basic training, when I was going in the Army, women had to do 1 real push-up and men had to do 13. You couldn't make it out of reception battalion if you couldn't do the 1 and you couldn't do the 13. So then you went to basic training, you went to AIT, which is your advanced individual training, and then you went to your duty assignment. And so RL programs are your duty assignment. And what I realized is people need to be able to do their 1 push-up. That's initially what the yes and no challenge was. The revised version of the yes and no challenge is what you have experienced now, which is the PA challenge. Simply listen to me. What are your takeaways? What are your action items? And then turn it in at 8 o'clock. Because even I realize some people can't even tell somebody no. So what is this thing that you can do that you can just get your 1 push-up ready, your 13 push-ups ready? And that's how you ended up with the PA challenges. For the 30-day PA challenges, the yes and no challenge, only 1 push-up for women because you had to break the plane. So you had to do 1 male push-up. So you got to go all the way down and come all the way up to get into basic training, not to get out of basic training, but to be able to get in. It was just because the reason why you needed to be able to do 1 push-up was because you needed to be able to demonstrate that you was going to be able to hold your rucksack on your back, that you was going to be able to pack a ruck and walk at the same time. Because if you don't have no upper body strength, you're not going to be able to put that rucksack on your back and carry. You won't even be able to carry an LBE, low bearing equipment. So your suspenders and your first aid patch with your flashlight, ammo pouches, and your canteens on there. So it's just to see, because if you weren't going to be able to do one, you were never going to be able to get to the minimum to pass your PT test to get out of basic training. That's what it was. So you're going to take small steps, and that's how we are at the PA challenges. Now, how? Choose low risk next steps and do it. That's what I did. Started out with the yes and no challenge, and then ended up with the PA challenge, but then took, because RO365 is 4 sets of real leader challenges, 4 sets of turnaround risk, 4 sets of turnaround challenges, 4 sets of turnaround risk, and 4 sets of poll questions. That's what you end up doing. And then the last 5 days, you summarize, you take 111, summarize everything you did, boom, day 365, you summarize everything that you've done, and then day 366, you actually get your certificate. That's how that went. But now we do have 30-day challenges so that you can ramp your way up to be able to do that. And then you reflect on the outcome. What worked, what didn't work. And so I looked and saw 30-day challenges can work, because you need to learn how to do your equivalent to 1 push-up. And they are, but this whole yes and no thing doesn't work. And then what I also took away from the yes and no challenge is the daily challenges. Because what I realized is, if you can't say no to people, how can you start communicating with people in a different way? Because communicate effectively is one of the 74 principles of good leadership. And so that's where the daily challenges came into play, because they were just there. It's in your daily. Have an Instagram account for that. And it was more just daily accountability for me and these random informational facts that you could use. So the daily challenges turned into 30-day challenges as well, because I said you still need to be able to communicate with people. You need to be able to change the narrative with the people around you. How can you do that without saying, yeah, I'm about to change your mind? We need to talk about some different shit. But if you come with these facts, it's like, oh my goodness, is that when Domino's was invented? I didn't realize that. Did you know that Uno's was because of doggone Crazy Hearts? It was a family game, and now they got all these different types of Uno's, and who knew? That's how it goes. So I took this one challenge that didn't work and turned it into 2 other challenges that are much more effective, and the completion rate is much higher. And that leads me to the last point. Adjust and repeat, treating life like an experiment. And that's what I say. I'm conducting an experiment. I was on Threads the other day. I was conducting an experiment. I decided to do this on TikTok to see what's going to happen. I put a comment in here. I'm about to see the results. So I am always assessing human behavior, because life is an experiment, and I need to understand how unaccountable people think so that I can give them the antidote, which is personal accountability, to change that particular behavior. So I'll go back through them again, the framework to figure it out. Number 1, define the problem clearly. Number 2, gather diverse information. Number 3, pause and reflect. Number 4, test assumptions. Number 5, embrace uncertainty. And number 6, act and iterate. So what comments, takeaways, moments of reflection do you have about the 6 ways to frame figuring it out? And remember, ... thinking emoji. Let me see. I'm thinking, Doc. Any of that will let me know that you are there, present, and I haven't put you to sleep with my amazing Smooth Grooves voice. You are listening to the Smooth Grooves of Detroit Red, WJLB. That's actually not the... Yeah, you can do Smooth Grooves on WJLB in Detroit. Did someone type ... There we go. Thank you, Mr. Hook. Thank you. Regina says, I think testing assumptions is an important part of the framework. I agree. And I believe that if people tested their assumptions more often, we would have, first of all, we'd be able to interact with people differently because they wouldn't be already at, yeah, I'm about to. They would be able, but making mistakes is not something that's accepted in the unaccountable community. And that's part of the reason why people don't take the time to test their assumptions, because unaccountable people want the answer right and they want to know it now because of immediate gratification and because they need that dopamine boost immediately. So the delayed gratification is not something that they're willing to participate in. Additionally, if you don't have the neural pathways to test the assumptions, then you can't test the assumptions. It is very important though. That's why you have to start testing the assumptions to create that neural pathway, and then you just keep doing it automatically. It's part of your process of figuring it out. Nola, I think when you test assumptions, you can peep the bullshit and find what works. That is correct as well. And you get answers that, one thing that I found in testing the assumptions is that you get answers that you never thought was the answer. Who knew that people couldn't tell people no to anything? I knew people didn't say no 9 out of 10 times, but I'm like, you can't tell the lady at Costco or the person at Costco no thank you. If they try to, I told people, just go through the drive-through of a fast food restaurant and you know they're going to offer you a dessert or upsize it. Just tell them no in the drive-through. Hey, you want to upsize that? You want some donuts with that? Would you like cream in your coffee? No, thank you. Just no. And so I would have never thought that was going to be as challenging for people as it actually was. Kevin says, I really like the test the assumptions practice. I like to see the results and hear feedback. That is correct. And it will make for a better strategy. So if you have your strategy, you test the assumptions, you could go back and adjust the strategy so that there will be an improved product. So imagine if I didn't test the assumption and I just kept offering a yes and no challenge and just saying people, it's just a high failure rate. Because remember how we got here is I was like, oh yeah, I could teach people how to hold a salesperson accountable because that's what's wrong. That's what's happening. And I'm like, why is there a drop off rate between day 80 and day 90? And it's related to seasons changing. Seasons change and people change. Right now we're getting ready to go into summer, drop off rate. Yeah, and really the worst time for people is them damn holidays. November through January takes everybody out. They just like, I got a holiday party, I gotta do this, I'm gonna eat wrong and all. So it was interesting for me to get to this point to say, oh, it's neurological. And now I know that it's all the way in the brain and the direct result is negativity bias. But imagine if I had just kept saying, people just can't do it. They just can't do it. And then I kept my confirmation bias. It's just people don't want to be accountable. People don't want to be accountable. Instead of saying, why? Is it they don't want to be accountable? Challenge that. Is it that? Or is it something else? And now, after 12 years, we understand that negativity bias is the root cause of all of this. And that was from thousands and thousands of years ago. But if I had stayed in my hoity-toity Dr. Donna frame of mind, which I wouldn't do that, but just in general, if I'd have done that, then we don't get here. We don't understand about hijacked amygdalas and all of that, and that you got to go back and your personality and everything resides in the frontal lobe, because that isn't taught to us. The neuroscientists are gatekeeping the information, and the psychiatrists are just passing out meds. Nobody's saying how can we create a best person until now. So I've challenged the assumption that everybody can access their best day in and day out because everybody was given a brain. Now, Regina says, it helps to challenge your blind spots and try a new approach, which might be more creative than what you originally planned. I 100% agree, because now there are all these different 30-day challenges. Regina and I are working behind the scenes on potentially a new 30-day challenge as well. And again, I did this same thing with the yes and no challenge and then one other challenge. I even went so far as to have a person that couldn't finish the yes and no challenge. They just never got to 30 days twice. I switched them to a different challenge and they successfully completed that challenge. That's when I knew the yes and no challenge is the problem. And then Lola said, I also had a challenge in saying no, and now no is easy. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. 9 out of 10 times. And it makes you feel better. And then what I also tell people is when you say no to someone else, you're saying yes to yourself. And that should help you as well. So if you're saying no, because as soon as you say yes, now you're saying no to something that you could be doing. And I tell people all the time, you're sitting in all your yeses. Everything that you have, you said yes to. You are the reason why it's there. So if you don't like what you have, then you have to say no going forward. If you don't want to have a vehicle like me, no, I'm good. Then now I don't have one. So I don't have maintenance, car payments, insurance, none of that. All of that stress of having that is nothing that I need to do anymore. Had enough cars. My life, I don't need transportation currently at this point. So I'm good. But to say, oh yes, let me go get a car because I'm from Detroit and we the Motor City, so let's just have a car. It's not necessary at this point. So saying no helps you have the life full of yeses that you actually say yes to. So why is it challenging? Just to summarize, confirmation bias, fear of failure, and information overload make figuring it out feel like wading through mud. Confirmation bias, fear of failure, and information overload make figuring it out feel like wading through mud. Our brains crave certainty, but life's not certain. The key is to treat the process as a journey and not a destination. When you see life as a journey and these things that you need to figure out are just the tools that you need along the way to let you have this amazing existence, then when something shows up for you to find a solution because you need to figure it out, you don't go, oh, if it ain't one thing, it's another. I tell you, trying times. Well, oh, this is just if I just know. Figuring it out is part of the journey. And when you get to something that you need to figure out, that's just the timing of that means it's time for you to have that experience, to gain the skills, the technical information that you need, the competence, the life experience. It's time on this journey. So figure it out. Yesterday, I needed to figure out the bed and put together a credenza that I had never put together before. And Noah needed to put together these bookcases with these terrible backs and figure it out. And now we have this new level of understanding. So in the event we see this in the future, which furniture companies bite off each other all the time, we will see it again. Now we started having a strategy for all of those things that went wrong. And for all of the beds that have been put together prior to that, we could identify immediately, this is a manufacturing defect, this is a manufacturing defect, this is a manufacturing defect, and how can we have that workaround to ensure that grandma has a place to sleep for at least a week before they get a new bed. And in summary, what did you learn today? And what did you learn about yourself today? No. I need my nasal rinse one. Mm-hmm. Oh, we're gonna get it out today. Oh. Kevin said, today I learned that you must remind yourself that everything doesn't need an immediate response. That is correct. That sense of urgency that is given to you by unaccountable people is based upon dopamine boost and immediate gratification. Nola, I learned that figuring it out is a skill. Yep. And who knew that all this information was wrapped in me figuring that bed out? And that credenza. And by the way, I got the credenza and everything together. The only thing I didn't do was put the doors on. Because last thing I want to do is overstep my skill set and mess something up. Because that Dunning-Kruger effect is not something, I'm not overestimating my skill set. I'm like, and this is where I stop. Right here. I don't put backs on, not those particular backs. and I don't put doors with soft close hinges on anything. Kevin, myself, many times I respond too fast to situations. And in corporate America, we call that slow the knee jerk. And what's happening, if it's fast, you're reacting. If you slow it down, you're actually responding. So it's react versus respond. If it's immediate, that means you're reacting to whatever is taking, that stimulus that's taking place. But when you pause and take a break, now you got to go to, because the amygdala is saying threat, even if it's not. False positive, saber-tooth tiger, yeah, all right. Like, hold up. And Nola has done that in the past, where she's just like, bam, 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 rubber mallet. I'm like, hold up. Let's step back. Let's collaborate. Let's assess the problem, see what's actually taking place, and now let's strategize on how we can improve this or how we can figure it out. And then Regina says, I learned that I enjoy talking about figuring it out, understanding the process, and doing this with everyone on live. Sharing is helpful. Yes, that is awesome. And then Nola, I learned about myself that I have a lot of figuring out skills. Yes, that's what, and that's the one thing that I want to bring to your attention is that when you go do the thing that you actually came here to do, it magnifies all the things that you need to, the skill sets that you need in order to do that thing. So Nola didn't like communicating with people, don't like talking on the phone, don't like sending messages. She just want to go and put things together. And all the other stuff that she had to do in order to put things together is what has made her a well-rounded person. So she's going to have to communicate effectively, get organized, manage a calendar, file taxes, money management Monday. All these other skills came, all these other things that she had to figure out, get her driver's license and everything else, because she assembled furniture. And now there's all these other things, major skills that she has because of that. And people avoid that thing. I don't want to do that thing. That thing's going to make me look bad. I'm going to have to figure out how to do that. I don't want to learn about the brain. Now I got to read at this high level. All these terms, all these scientific terms, it's technical terms, this new set of jargon that I already mastered corporate jargon and military jargon. And now here we go with neuroscience. But in figuring it out, as I mentioned, it's the journey. It's actually the journey, the dash. Can't pick the begin date or the end date in your life, but that dash gives you the life that you want to wake up to on a daily basis. And Regina said, I learned that pause and reflect buys me time before I make a poor decision. It does. It definitely does. And that's what happens, that reaction. Immediate, like, hold up, wait a minute, I'm about to react. And you can start to feel the amygdala being hijacked. I can feel it. Like, oh, I see you trying to hijack my amygdala. Okay, cool. I'm not completely there yet, but I can feel it. Like, nah, I see what you're trying to do, especially on the lives and on comments and everything. I understand what you're trying to do. Nah, we're not doing that. I am a thermostat, not a thermometer. And that's how you can use that principle of real leadership. A thermometer is a hijacked amygdala. You gonna take the temperature of whatever environment you're in. Hijacked amygdala. Thermostat says, nope, I'm staying in my frontal lobe. It's hot, I'm going to put the air conditioner on. It's cold, I'm going to turn up the heat. And if you look at it from that way, you can say, oh, I see. This is a thermometer environment, and you want me to be right here with you. No, you're trying to hijack my amygdala. Absolutely not. Let me change the temperature in this situation. And Lola said, yes, that's me. I'm getting better. And I try not to give an answer until the next day. Sit on your hands. That's what they tell us in Al-Anon. Sit on your hands. And if you want my answer today, my answer is no. It might be different tomorrow, but you need an immediate answer right now? No. No. I ain't signing up for shit. You're not getting me to volunteer. I'm not buying anything. My answer is no, because I need to take all this in. I need to figure out what you're talking about. I need to figure out if this is going to work best for me. And if it's not, then 100% it is no, no, no. Okay. Thank you so very much for taking time today for yourself. And now you are equipped with a multitude of new neural pathways, the beginning of them, to understand what you need to do to figure it out. And the key takeaway today is to remember that when you need to figure something out, it means that you need to find your own solution, because that solution, that lesson and that blessing, that technical competence, that skill development, that experience is 100% for you. So the next time you are delivered a figure it out virtually, physically, financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, know that that is for you to find a solution. It is not the government trying to take you out. It's not, especially if it's only happening to you. It's for you. It actually is for you to grow through that situation and get to the other side. Do not be hijacked amygdala stated because you need to figure something out. See it as the blessing and the lesson that it is. Take a nice little trip to your frontal lobe. Use these steps, frame it differently, and when you get on the other side, guess what's waiting on you? A nice little bouquet of dopamine, natural dopamine. And you're going to go, wow, look at that. Look what I was able to figure out. And my reward is that I figured it out, and now I have a new strategy, a new skill, a problem solved, and life is amazing. I will be back tomorrow, higher power, God, and the universe willing. Same time, same place, safe space, different brain t-shirt. You all go off and have a fantastic Friday. Take care.